Jude Bellingham is on fire. After missing out on Kylian Mbappe, Jude has adequately filled the superstar hole left by Karim Benzema. But how is he doing this? Why has he been so good so quickly? And why is he now Real Madrid's most important player? Prior to this season, Real Madrid under Ancelotti have almost exclusively played in a 4-3-3 shape. For almost a decade, the three in the middle were consistent and ever-present: Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric. Their names were basically burnt into the Madrid team sheet week after week. And for good reason too. That trio helped Madrid win 3 Champions League titles in a row, 4 in 5 years, and the swan song in 2022. However, rejuvenation was needed. At 30, 32, and 37 respectively, it was time to move on. In steps these three: Federico Valverde, Eduardo Camavinga, and Orion Tchouameni. Between them, they averaged just over 21 starts last season in La Liga. The transition had begun. The Champions League was a slightly different story, however. Kroos and Modric started the bulk of the games, and while Valverde and Camavinga both got a good share of starts, not all of them were in those prized midfield positions. Clearly, Ancelotti's trust was still in the old heads. That was until this man arrived. At Dortmund, he played as a member of a midfield 3 in a 4-3-3, so you'd imagine he'd slot right into one of those midfield 3 positions seamlessly for Madrid. We'll discuss why that isn't the case a little later. He was able to show his positional versatility though, playing as an attacking 8, bombing forward to help support attacks, or an all-action box-to-box mid who can battle in the middle of the park, or even play a bit deeper as the second man in a double pivot. Despite being just 20, Jude has already seemingly got his grown man strength. He's not yoked by any means, but he can be very physically imposing in the middle of the pitch. It's this physicality that helps him be so effective as a defensive player, something he doesn't get enough credit for. I don't see him being in the Casemiro or Tchouameni mold, and even Camavinga would be more active than him, but he has the skill set to be a very effective defensive player. He's aggressive in his challenges, and after maturing in the Bundesliga, I foresee him becoming a pressing monster. Whack him on the opposition's most important pivot player and watch him go to work. When he does have the ball, he can be pretty good in possession too. He's no metronome by any means and is far from the long-term replacement for Toni Kroos, but he still offers much with his passing, both in terms of quality and range. He's been developing his long passing from deep, but the results have been mixed. He's a far better passer the further up the field he gets, and to be honest, this is true for almost everything about Jude. He's most effective in the final third. He's become really good at finding his teammates making runs into the box and has expanded his collection of passes he can use to find them. He's also a massive goal threat. While his output has been pretty meager at best, I believe he has the potential to be a 15-goal-a-season scorer consistently, in a similar vein to Frank Lampard. In fact, Lampard is an interesting comp for Jude, a versatile midfielder who was always better the further up the pitch he played and was blessed with a natural eye for goal. Jude's probably more physically imposing, but he'll have to keep working hard to match Lamps' passing. So, what does this mean for Real Madrid? Well, Madrid fared pretty well in the league last season in terms of expected goals. They matched Barcelona for the best expected goal output last season. They were top in the table for total goals scored, scoring only 8 less than they did in their dominant La Liga winning campaign the season before, with a higher XG mark. The problem? Much of that production came from Karim Benzema, who is now basking in the Middle Eastern sun. Benz had by far the most XG last season and more than doubled Vinicius Jr.'s tally. Even when you remove penalties, he was still up there. Madrid desperately needed a replacement. Joselu was brought in, but I doubt he'll be a regular starter for Los Blancos, even though I am a fan. Other than that, no other recognized striker was brought in. That's where Jude comes in. While he wouldn't necessarily replace Ben defense perfectly in a different role, he could at least make up for much of what they were missing. This did facilitate a change of their system though. The now famous Real Madrid Diamond was born. The move to the Diamond was primarily done to facilitate Jude, and it does that perfectly. This allows him to be further up the pitch in the areas he can do the most damage. His goal threat has been on full display thus far in the La Liga campaign, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop. His ability to crash into the box and apply pressure after the defense has already been penetrated by Rodrigo and Vinicius has been a wonder to watch. He's been central to Madrid's attacking play and has represented almost like a focal point from which they can build their attacks off of. Because of this, Vini and Rodrigo have still been able to attack from out wide, which is their preferred role. The midfield is also able to maintain stability as there is an excess of technically capable players, and all four of the midfield starters are aggressive and competent defenders. The pressing abilities of Jude, Camavinga and Valverde will cause many teams problems in the future. His leadership both on the pitch and seemingly off it also have to be mentioned. He's a very vocal player, and with Madrid losing a lot of their leaders over the last 3 years or so, his voice will be needed. There are more questions that need to be answered though. Will Jude be able to maintain this level of output? Is he really the leader that can take over the reins from some of Madrid's more established names? Will Madrid be able to build a sustainable attack without much of a penalty box presence or someone with the movement like Karim Benzema? What happens when Vinicius or Rodrigo gets injured? How does that affect Madrid's system, and how will Jude have to accommodate that? It's early in the season, and we will no doubt get the answers to these questions as the games are played. But I for one will be keenly watching to see how the story develops.
Have to say bye bye yo, bye bye yo. Have to say bye bye yo.